The stars burned cold and silent in the endless night of space. On the bridge of the human exploration cruiser, Horizon's Call, the crew moved through their routines until a sudden sharp tone echoed through the speakers. Everyone froze. The sound was not part of their usual signals. It was broken, jagged, almost like a scream hidden inside static. "Captain, we've intercepted a signal," the comms officer whispered, eyes wide as the strange noise filled the room. The captain leaned forward. "Play it," the signal repeated. Static roared, then a desperate voice cut through, faint but clear enough to chill the blood. "Help us. They are coming. Death Fleet. Mercy." Then silence. For a moment, no one breathed. The navigator broke the silence. "Sir, that didn't sound human." The captain's jaw tightened. The voice had been trembling, alien, filled with terror. It was the sound of someone who believed death was certain. The engineer muttered, "Might be a trap. Pirates use fake distress calls all the time." But the comms officer shook her head. This was real. "I could hear the fear." The bridge fell quiet again, each crew member staring at the captain. He stood straight, shoulders heavy with the decision before him. "Plot a course," he said at last. "We answer it." The ship shifted into faster-than-light travel, stars stretching into streams of light. In the silence of the jump, whispers spread among the crew. Who had sent the call? What kind of enemy could inspire such horror? After hours of tense waiting, the ship dropped back into normal space. What they saw made the crew fall silent once again. A planet hung below, scarred and broken. Entire cities lay in ruins. Fires burned across continents, smoke rising into the thin atmosphere. The world looked like it had been torn apart by claws. The sensors crackled. Life signs detected, small groups hiding. The captain gave the order. "Prepare landing shuttles. If anyone is alive down there, we find them." The landing was tense, every soldier gripping their weapons, scanning the shattered remains of alien structures. Buildings that once stretched toward the sky now lay in shattered pieces as though crushed by some great hand. In the ruins, they found them. The aliens were frail, thin-bodied, with pale skin that seemed almost translucent under the dim light. Their eyes were large, filled with both exhaustion and fear. When the humans approached, the aliens flinched as though expecting violence. One of them whispered in a trembling voice, "Leave! You should not have come!" The captain stepped forward slowly, hands open to show he carried no weapon. "We heard your call. We came to help." The alien's head shook violently. "Help will only bring death to you as well. They will come. They always come." The humans exchanged glances. "Who?" The alien looked up, and even though his face was strange and unfamiliar, the raw terror in his eyes was something any human could understand. "The Death Worlders," he said. "They are coming." A chill spread through the human crew. The name itself carried weight. Death Worlders. It sounded like a nightmare whispered across the stars. The captain pressed on. "Then we'll stand. With you," the alien's thin shoulders shook. "You don't understand. No one fights them. No one survives. When they hear the cry of the weak, they arrive. And when they arrive, the stars burn." At that moment, the comms officer's voice crackled from the captain's earpiece. "Sir, I think we've been detected. A large mass is approaching." "The system!" The alien staggered backward, clutching his head. "Too late. Too late." The captain turned to his crew. "Back to the ship. Now." They returned to the Horizon's Call, and the moment the docking clamp sealed, the alarms rang out. Scanners lit up with a shadow spreading across the void. Ships, dozens of them, enormous black armored like beasts of prey. They moved with a terrifying grace, their shapes sharp and unnatural, like predators born for nothing but destruction. Bridge fell into silence as the fleet filled the screen. No one spoke. No one needed to. The threat was clear. Then a voice came across the comms, deep and sharp, like metal grinding against bone. "Humans, you stand where you do not belong. Leave the weak to die, or join them in the fire." The crew froze, their hearts pounded. The aliens had been right. The Death Welders had come, and they had come in force. The captain stood tall, his voice calm but steady, though every eye turned to him with fear and expectation. "We do not run from cries for help," he said firmly, "and we do not abandon the helpless." The crew stared at him in silence. Then slowly, one by one, they nodded. Fear still lived in their eyes, but now there was something else as well, resolve. The Death Welder fleet began to shift, engines glowing like burning suns. They were preparing to strike. The captain gripped the edge of his command chair. "Ready weapons. If they want war, they'll find we are not so easy to break." And in the silent expanse of space, with ruined worlds below and nightmares approaching, from the stars, humanity waited, standing between death and those too weak to fight for themselves. The first shot had not yet been fired, but everyone on that bridge knew one thing: the real battle was about to begin. The Death Welder fleet did not attack at once. Their ships circled in the darkness like predators, waiting for the right moment to strike. The humans on Horizon's call watched in silence, every second heavy with fear. "They're testing us," the weapons officer whispered, "like wolves around prey." The captain stood tall, eyes fixed on the black warships. "They want us to break first. We won't." Yet even his steady voice could not stop the chill that crept across the crew. The Death Welders radiated menace. Their ships were not built for beauty, not even for function. They were built for terror. Spikes of armor jutted out, weapons glowed with eerie light, and their movements felt alive like hunters circling the kill. Then, without warning, the comms sparked again. A voice filled the bridge, deep and cold. "You stand in the way of the inevitable." The weak called, and you answered. "Fools, leave and you may yet live. Stay, and you will burn with them." The crew looked at their captain, waiting for his reply. He did not answer at once. Instead, he turned to the comms officer. "Patch me through." When the channel opened, his voice rang out clear. "This ship heard a call for help. We do not leave the desperate to die. If you want them, you'll have to come through us." Silence followed, then the sound of dark laughter. The Death Welder replied, "So be it. Then you will join their ashes." The transmission cut. Red alarms lit up across the bridge. "They're moving!" shouted the navigator, the Death Welder. Ships shifted formation, spreading like claws, but instead of striking the humans first, they descended toward the broken planet below. "They're going after the survivors," the comms officer cried. The captain's fists clenched. "Not while we're here. Weapons ready. Target the lead ship." The humans opened fire. Blue beams cut across the void, slamming into the nearest Death Welder vessel. The enemy ship shuddered, armor glowing with heat, but it did not fall. Instead, it turned toward the humans, eyes of fire blazing from its engines. The first counterstrike hit like thunder. The Horizon's call shook, sparks bursting across consoles. "Shields at 70%, yelled the engineer. "They're testing our defenses," the weapons officer growled. "Then let's show them what we're made of," the captain snapped. "All ships, form up, protect the planet." The human fleet moved as one. Smaller escorts took position, weaving between the Death Welders, firing at weak points. The sky lit with streaks of fire as metal clashed against metal, but the Death Welders were merciless. They ignored damage that would cripple normal fleets. One massive cruiser pushed through direct fire, engines blazing, until it loomed above a human frigate. With a single shot, the frigate was torn apart, breaking into burning fragments. The humans watched in horror. The comms filled with a scream from the alien survivors, still hiding in the ruins below. "Stop! Please stop! You cannot win against them!" The captain closed his eyes for a moment, hearing the raw terror. Then he opened them again, steel in his voice. "We can! We must!" Another shockwave rattled the ship. The crew struggled to keep balance, hands gripping consoles. The navigator cried, "Sir, their fleet is larger than we thought. More ships incoming." On the scanners, shadows spread as reinforcements appeared. The Death Worlders were calling. In more hunters. Fear rippled across the bridge, but the captain's voice cut through it. "Then we fight smarter, ready decoys, set charges on the asteroid field nearby. We'll lure them in." The humans moved quickly, sending small drones and mining charges into the floating rocks that orbited the ruined planet. As the Death Worlders pressed forward, the humans feigned retreat, drawing them into the field. One of the alien survivors' voices broke through comms again, desperate and confused. "Why? Why risk so much? We are nothing to you." The captain's answer was calm, even as fire lit the void around them. "Because no one should face monsters alone." The trap was sprung. As the Death Worlders pushed deeper into the asteroid field, the humans detonated the charges. A chain of explosions ripped through the rocks, shattering massive stones into deadly shrapnel. 2 Death Worlder ships were crushed instantly, hulls pierced by fragments, moving at deadly speed. The humans cheered, but the celebration was short-lived. The Death Worlders did not break. Instead, they howled through the comms. A roar of fury that made even hardened soldiers shiver. "They're angry now," the weapons officer muttered. "Good," the captain said, eyes blazing. "Let them be angry. Let them make mistakes." The battle raged on. Human ships darted like wolves, striking from shadows, retreating, striking again. They could not match the Death Worlders in raw strength, but they could outthink them. Still, the cost was high. 2 more human ships fell, torn apart in fire. The crew of Horizon's Call fought with every ounce of will, exhaustion painting their faces. Then, a sudden change. One of the Death Worlder cruisers broke formation, charging straight at the human flagship. "They're coming for us," the navigator gasped. The captain's voice was steady. "Then we hold, ready the railguns." The Death Worlder ship closed. Monstrous and unstoppable. At the last second, the humans fired their full battery. Metal slugs ripped into the enemy's hull, tearing open its armor. The giant slowed, then exploded in a blinding burst of fire. The bridge erupted in shouts of triumph. For the first time, the Death Worlders had been stopped head-on. But even in victory, the scanners showed more enemy ships advancing. The humans had won a battle, but the war had only begun. The alien survivor's voice whispered over the comms, trembling. You fight them. No one has ever done this. Why do you not run?" The captain looked out at the burning stars. "Because if we run, they will only keep hunting. Someone has to stand in their way." Silence followed. Then, slowly, the alien whispered words filled with awe. "Humans are not saviors. You are warriors." On the bridge, the crew exchanged glances. Exhausted, battered, but still alive, they understood the truth. They had not just answered a call for help. They had declared themselves enemies of the Death Worlders. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the battlefield, more shadows were stirring, watching. Humanity had taken its first step into a war that would shape the fate of the stars. The battlefield was still burning when the humans pulled back. Wreckage floated across space, glowing fragments of both human and Death Worlder ships drifting. In silence, the Horizon's Call limped at the center of the formation, its hull scarred, its crew weary but unbroken. On the bridge, the atmosphere was heavy. Smoke clung to the air, consoles sparked now and then, and every face carried the weight of what they had seen. The engineer reported in a tired voice, "Shields at 30%. Weapons down to half strength. We can't take another battle like that." The navigator added softly, "We lost 4 ships today." Silence followed. The names of those ships would not be forgotten, but there was no time for grief. The comms officer broke the quiet. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from the survivors on the surface. They're asking if we are still here." The captain nodded. "Tell them yes. Tell them we're not leaving." The alien voices crackled through the comms again, trembling with disbelief. "No one has ever stood against the Deathworlders. You do not know what they are. They never stop. They will come back, stronger." The captain replied calmly, though his voice carried steel. "Then we'll be ready." The alien's reply was almost a whisper. "You are foolish, but brave." For a moment, the crew felt a flicker of pride, but it vanished when the sensors officer shouted, "Multiple signals! New contacts! Moving fast!" The bridge went still. Everyone leaned in. On the screen, more Deathworlder ships appeared at the edge of the system. Not dozens this time. Hundreds. The weapons officer swore, under his breath. "That's not a fleet. That's an armada." The crew exchanged fearful glances. Their victory had been small, but it had drawn attention. Now the full weight of the Deathworlders was coming. The captain gave the order. "Fall back to high orbit. Protect the survivors as long as we can." The fleet shifted, pulling closer to the ruined planet. Below, the alien survivors watched from broken shelters, eyes raised to the sky. For the first time they had hope, but hope was fragile, and it might be crushed before it could grow. In the silence before battle, the crew whispered to each other. "They'll tear us apart this time. Maybe. But better to die standing than running." The captain overheard but said nothing. His mind raced. They couldn't win a direct fight, not against those numbers. Then an idea struck. "Navigator, bring up the system chart." The screen lit up with the star map, asteroids, a dying moon, a gas giant swirling at the edge of the system. The captain pointed. "There, the gas giant storms. If we lead them inside, their sensors will be blinded. Their ships are bigger, slower. We can make them chase us." The crew exchanged glances. It was risky, but so was staying still. "Send the order," the captain said. "We'll turn their strength into weakness." The fleet moved, engines blazing, pulling away from the planet, and into the swirling storms of the gas giant. The Deathworlders followed, their armada stretching across the void like a tide of black steel. As they entered the storm, lightning lit the clouds in flashes of violet and white. Winds screamed across the sensors. Radar flickered, vision blurred. The humans vanished into the chaos. Inside the storm, tension rose. Every console flickered, every scan was distorted. The storm was as dangerous to them as to the enemy. The navigator whispered, "We're blind." "Not blind," the captain replied. "Just hidden. Keep quiet. Let them search." The Deathworlders plunged into the storm, massive warships pushing through the lightning. Their voices echoed on comms, harsh and confident. "You cannot hide. We smell your fear." The crew stayed silent, hands gripping their stations, waiting for the trap to spring. Then the captain gave the order. "Release the drones." Small, stealthy machines launched into the storm, each carrying beacons and false signals. To the Deathworlders, it looked as if the humans had split into dozens of ships scattering in every direction. The enemy roared across the comms, enraged. "Cowards! We will hunt you all!" The storm lit up as the Deathworlders fired wildly, chasing ghosts through the clouds. Explosions boomed in every direction, but most struck only empty air. The humans used the chaos. Hidden among the lightning, they struck. A sudden barrage of missiles tore into one Deathworlder ship, then another. Before the enemy could regroup, the humans vanished back into the storm. The crew cheered, adrenaline rushing through their veins. But the captain remained grim. "Don't celebrate yet, they'll adapt," and adapt they did. The Deathworlders began linking their ships together, creating a wall of firepower, forcing the humans into tighter spaces. The storm became a maze of death. One human ship was caught, ripped apart by concentrated fire. Another was lost to the lightning itself, engines fried by the storm's fury. Still the humans pressed on, striking, retreating, striking again. At last, they reached the edge of the storm. Behind them, the Death Worlders roared in frustration. They had been bloodied but not broken. The humans emerged battered, their numbers fewer, but alive. The crew of Horizon's Call slumped in exhaustion, sweat on their brows, but relief in their eyes. For now, they had survived. The comms crackled. The alien survivors spoke again, their voices filled with awe. "You lived! You faced the Death Worlders and lived!" The captain answered simply, "We're not finished yet." And though the crew was weary, though the enemy still loomed in, greater numbers, something had changed. The galaxy had seen the Death Worlders as unstoppable predators, but now humanity had proven they could bleed. The battle was far from over. The war was only beginning, but in that moment, as the stars flickered beyond the storm, the humans felt a truth settle deep in their bones. They were no longer answering a call for help. They were fighting for the future of every world that feared. The Death Worlders, and somewhere, hidden in the shadows of the galaxy, unseen watchers whispered to each other. The humans had stood their ground. The humans had declared war. The storm had hidden them. But the humans knew it could not protect them forever. When the Horizon's Call and the surviving ships emerged from the gas giant's clouds, the crew saw the damage clearly. Hulls were scarred, shields weak, engines struggling. They had survived but barely. On the bridge, the engineer gave a grim report. "Half our weapons are offline. Shields are patchwork. Another fight like that and we're finished." The navigator added softly, "And the Death Worlders are still out there. They won't stop." The captain stood silent for a long moment, staring at the stars beyond the viewscreen. His crew waited for orders, fear pressing in on every side. Then the comms officer broke the silence. "Sir, we're receiving another signal. It's from the survivors on the planet. They're begging us not to return. They say the Death Worlders will come again in greater numbers." The captain's voice was calm but firm. "We're not leaving them." The crew exchanged weary glances, but none argued. They knew the truth. If they left now, the Death Worlders would destroy the survivors without mercy. Humanity's choice was simple: stand or watch innocent lives vanish. Moments later, the census officer shouted, "Contacts! Multiple ships! They've regrouped, and they're heading straight for us." The bridge shook with tension. The Death Worlders were coming again, this time in full force. Their ships appeared on the scanners, dark shadows cutting through the stars, weapons glowing like the eyes of predators. The weapons officer muttered, "They're not testing us this time. They're coming to kill us." The captain straightened. "Then we hold the line." The Death Worlders opened fire first. Streams of blazing energy tore across the void. The Horizon's Call shook violently as shields strained against the assault. Sparks flew across the bridge, crew gripping their stations as the ship groaned under the pressure. "Shields at 60%, the engineer shouted. "Return fire," the captain ordered. The human fleet responded, beams of light and missile trails filling space. Explosions rippled as smaller Death Worlder ships were struck, but the larger cruisers pushed forward undeterred. They advanced like wolves through fire, relentless and terrifying. A human escort ship tried to flank one of the cruisers, but the enemy turned with unnatural speed. A single blast tore the escort apart, scattering its remains into the void. The crew of Horizon's Call watched in horror. "We can't outgun them," the weapons officer cried. The captain's eyes narrowed. "Then we outthink them." He leaned forward. "Signal the fleet. Break formation. Scatter and draw them apart. Make them chasers." The humans obeyed. Their ships split in different directions, weaving through debris and shattered rock. The Death Worlders roared across the comms. "Furious at the sudden chaos, you think running will save you? You cannot hide from us." But running was not the plan. The humans struck from shadows, using speed and cunning. A frigate darted past a cruiser, firing torpedoes into its engines before vanishing into darkness. Another ship drew enemy fire into the wreckage of destroyed vessels, using the debris as cover. The Deathworlders snarled in rage, but their fury blinded them. They chased recklessly, leaving gaps in their formation. "Now!" the captain shouted. The humans converged, focusing. Their fire on one massive cruiser. Railguns hammered its hull, missiles tore through its armor. At last, the beast groaned and split apart, exploding in a storm of fire. The crew cheered, but the moment was brief. The Deathworlders answered with brutal force. 2 human ships were caught and destroyed in seconds, the void lit with their deaths. The alien survivors on the planet watched the battle above with wide, fearful eyes. Their voices cracked through the comms. "Stop! Please! You will all die for us." But the captain answered with calm resolve. "Better we fight and fall than leave you to face this alone." The battle raged on. The Horizon's Call fired until its weapons overheated, shields flickering dangerously low. Every crew member fought exhaustion, fear, and the weight of impossible odds. Then, suddenly, the census officer cried out, "One of their ships is moving out of formation, heading straight for us." On the screen, a monstrous Deathworlder. Warship closed in, larger than anything they had yet faced. Its weapons glowed with deadly light. The captain's voice was steady. "Ready all power to the forward guns. If they want us, they'll have to pay for it." The Deathworlder ship fired. A beam of pure destruction streaked toward them. The Horizon's Call shuddered as shields collapsed, the blast tearing through the hull. Consoles exploded, crew thrown to the floor. "Shields gone," the engineer cried. Smoke filled the bridge, alarms blaring. The captain pulled himself to his feet, gripping the command chair. "Fire everything!" he roared. The Horizon's Call unleashed its full arsenal. Railguns thundered, missiles screamed, energy beams slashed across the void. The Deathworlder ship shook under the onslaught, its armor cracking, fire spilling into space. But it did not fall. The weapons officer looked up in despair. "It's not enough." The captain's eyes hardened. "Then we make it enough." He opened the comms to the entire ship. "All crew, brace for impact. We're ramming them." The bridge went silent, every eye wide with shock. The navigator whispered, "Sir, if we do this, we save the fleet." The captain cut in. "We save the survivors. That's enough." The engines roared as the Horizon's Call accelerated, tearing through fire and debris, heading straight for the enemy warship. The Deathworlder vessel fired again, blasts ripping through the human ship's hull, but still it came on. On the planet below, the survivors looked up as a streak of light crossed the sky. The crew gripped their stations, hearts pounding. Impact in 5. The enemy ship loomed closer, monstrous and terrible. 4. The Deathworlders roared across the comms. "Fools, you cannot—" 3. The bridge shook violently as another blast struck, but the engines held. 2. The captain whispered almost to himself, "For humanity." 1. The Horizon's Call slammed into the Deathworlder warship. The collision erupted in a blinding explosion that tore both ships apart, fire and metal raining across the stars. The human fleet watched in stunned silence as the enemy warship split in 2, destroyed by the sacrifice of their flagship. The comms filled with alien voices from the surface, whispering in awe. They gave their lives to protect us. The surviving human ships regrouped, battered but alive. The Deathworlders pulled back, their formation broken. For the first time in history, their armada had been forced to retreat. And though the cost was heavy, the message was clear. The humans had shown the galaxy that even against impossible odds, even against monsters born of death, they would not run, they would fight. The space around the ruined planet was quiet, but only for a moment. The Horizon's Call had survived the collision with the Deathworlder warship, and the remaining human fleet floated among the wreckage, battered but not broken. The stars seemed to shine differently now, carrying the memory of the sacrifice. Peter, captain, stood on the bridge, staring at the glowing fragments of the enemy ship drifting into the void. "We've proven something today," he said softly, his voice almost drowned by the alarms and hum of the ship. "We can fight them. We can hurt them. And they know it." The navigator leaned over the console, pointing to the sensors. "Sir, more ships are approaching. Not as many as before, but faster, more organized." The captain straightened. "Then we finish what we started. We hit them where it hurts." The weapons officer frowned. "We're still damaged, shields low, engines strained. Another attack could end us." The captain's eyes were cold with determination. "Then we fight smart. We use their own arrogance against them." A comms officer's voice broke the tension. "Sir, the alien survivors are asking to speak directly with you." The captain stepped forward. The alien voice crackled through. The comms, weak but filled with awe. "You humans, you fought and lived. We thought no one could stand against them." The captain replied calmly. "We will not abandon anyone. You called for help. We answered." The alien's thin voice trembled. "Help? No. You are warriors. No one has ever done this. The Death Worlders, they do not forgive. They will come again, stronger." The captain nodded slowly. "Then we must be ready. They underestimated us before. They will not again." Below, the ruined planet seemed smaller than before, its broken cities glowing under the light of distant stars. The survivors moved cautiously, watching the humans in the sky. Their hope was fragile, but it had been reborn. Suddenly, the sensors officer shouted, "Incoming enemy ships, full assault mode." The bridge erupted with tension. The Death Worlders had learned from their last battle. Their ships moved in tighter formations, coordinated like hunters moving as one. "They've adapted," the weapons officer said grimly. "We can't hit them the way we did before." The captain leaned forward. "Then we force them to play our game, prepare decoys, use every trick we've learned." The fleet moved. Smaller ships split off, weaving through asteroid fields, using wreckage as cover. Drones and false signals flooded the sensors, confusing the enemy. The Death Worlders hesitated, snarling in frustration over the comms. "You cannot hide from us!" one voice boomed. "We are not hiding," the captain replied. "We are luring you. You chase, you make mistakes, and we strike where it counts." Explosions rippled across space as the trap was set. The Death Worlders fell for it, advancing into narrow channels between asteroids. Several ships were destroyed by collisions and well-aimed missile strikes. The humans struck and retreated, drawing the enemy deeper into chaos. The crew of Horizon's Call felt a surge of hope. "We're hitting them hard," the navigator said, eyes wide with excitement. "They're not expecting this." "Good," the captain said. "Keep it up. One wrong move and they pay." But the enemy was relentless. Another wave of Death Worlder ships appeared, larger and more heavily armed than any before. Their energy weapons lit the void, scorching everything in their path. A human frigate was torn apart in seconds. The comms officer's voice was tense. "Sir, another ship is incoming. Its engines are massive, looks like a cruiser." The captain's jaw tightened. "Then we make it count. Target it first." The crew acted with precision. Missile batteries, railguns, and energy beams focused on the massive cruiser. Sparks and fire erupted as the enemy ship took hit after hit, but it kept moving, its armor nearly impervious. "Shields failing," the engineer shouted. "Hold it!" the captain barked. "We've got one chance. Focus all fire on the engines. Bring it down before it splits the fleet." The crew fired everything they had. Railguns slammed into the cruiser's engines, missiles tore through its hull. Sparks and fire filled the void. The massive ship groaned, then shattered in a blinding explosion. The bridge erupted in cheers, but the captain's expression remained grave. "We won this battle," he said, "but the war is not over. They'll come back stronger, and we must be ready." From the planet, the alien survivors whispered among themselves. "They are not humans. They are legends. They fight like gods." The captain looked out at the horizon. He could see more enemy ships retreating, regrouping at the edge of the system. "They will come again," he said quietly. And next time, we will be ready. The weapons officer wiped sweat from his brow. We've taken heavy losses, sir. How do we survive the next wave? The captain's eyes were steely. We adapt, we fight smarter, and we never give up. Humanity has a way of surviving, even against impossible odds. The alien voices came again, trembling but hopeful. You will stay with us? We will stay, the captain said, as long as we are needed, and we will fight no matter the cost. The crew of the Horizon's Call looked at each other, exhausted, scarred, but alive. They had faced monsters from the edge of the galaxy and had survived. Their courage had changed everything. The Deathworlders had underestimated humanity. They had thought fear and destruction were enough to break them, but they had been wrong. And now the humans were not just survivors, they were warriors. The stars around them seemed to burn brighter, a silent acknowledgement that a new force had arisen. Somewhere in the deep reaches of space, enemies and allies alike would take note. Humans did not flee. Humans did not surrender. Humans stood, and the galaxy would never forget it. The remnants of the human fleet hovered near the ruined planet, battered but alive. Silence stretched across space, broken only by the occasional hum of damaged engines. The Horizon's Call floated. At the center, its hull scorched, weapons sparking, yet its crew still standing. The captain stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the stars. "They'll be back," he said softly, almost to himself. "They always come back." The navigator pointed to the scanners. "Sir, the Deathworlders. They're assembling at the edge of the system, not just a few ships, hundreds. They've learned from every mistake we made." The captain nodded grimly. "Then this is it. We either stand or we lose everything. Prepare the fleet, every ship, every weapon. This time, we do not retreat." The crew worked in silence, tension thick in the air. Sparks flew as engineers patched damaged systems, weapons officers recalibrated energy beams, and navigators calculated the fastest intercept courses. The alien survivors' voices came over the comms, trembling. "You humans, you faced them before. You fought and lived. Why do you risk yourself again?" The captain's voice was firm. "Because no one else will. We are here to protect life, no matter the cost. Today, we fight not for glory, but for the future." The Deathworlders arrived in force. The void lit up with black ships, massive cruisers, and sleek hunter vessels, engines blazing. Their weapons glowed red and orange like fire, and their comms roared across space. "You dare challenge us again?" A deep voice boomed. "You should have fled. Now you will die." The captain's eyes narrowed. "We do not flee. We fight." The first volleys of fire tore across space. Explosions lit the stars as human and Deathworlder ships clashed in a storm of energy and metal. The fleet shook under the impact, alarms screaming. "Shields at 50%, the engineer shouted. "Hull integrity failing on 3 ships." "Focus on their lead cruiser," the captain barked. "Hit it hard, take out their command." Human ships darted through the chaos, weaving between laser fire and debris. Smaller vessels struck from unexpected angles, firing missiles at exposed weak points on the massive enemy cruisers. The Deathworlders snarled in frustration. "They adapt quickly," the weapons officer muttered. "We have to be smarter than before." The captain thought fast. Use their own strength against them. Lead them into the asteroid belt near the planet. They won't maneuver well in that terrain. The human fleet split, luring the Deathworlders toward the floating mountains of rock. Explosions erupted as the enemy collided with debris. Several ships were crushed instantly. The humans struck from hidden positions, their attacks precise and relentless. Still, the Deathworlders pressed forward. Their command cruiser roared across space, its engines glowing like molten fire. One human frigate tried to flank it, but a Deathworlder hunter cut it off, tearing it apart in seconds. The captain clenched his fists. "We cannot let them reach the planet. Full speed. Engage the final maneuver. The fleet converged at the center of the asteroid belt. Hidden drones activated, emitting powerful energy pulses that scrambled the enemy sensors. The Deathworlders faltered, confused, their formation breaking apart. The humans seized the chance. Torpedoes slammed into the command cruiser, railguns tore at its engines, and energy beams shredded its hull. Sparks and fire exploded across space. The massive ship groaned, twisted, and finally split in a fiery collapse. The bridge erupted with cheers, but the captain's gaze was fixed on the remaining fleet. Do not celebrate yet. They will regroup. But something had changed. The Deathworlders were retreating. Their ships moved back, battered and broken, no longer confident. Humanity had struck a blow they had never imagined possible. The comms crackled. The alien survivors' voices were filled with awe. They have done it. They fought. And they survived. No one ever stood against the Deathworlders like this. The captain turned to his crew, exhaustion heavy on their shoulders. We've won this battle, but the war is not over. Remember this. Courage can change the course of history. Fear can be defeated. And together, we are stronger than anyone imagined. The navigator whispered, Sir, the fleet, they're not following. The Deathworlders, they're retreating. The captain nodded slowly. Yes, today they learned something. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not run. Humanity fights. On the planet below, the alien survivors stepped out from hiding, their eyes wide with hope. The humans had not only protected them, they had inspired them. A fragile trust was born between species, a bond forged in fire and sacrifice. The weapons officer approached the captain. Sir, we lost many ships today, many brave lives. Were their sacrifices worth it? The captain looked at the stars, the debris floating like silent witnesses. Every life lost, every ship destroyed, was worth it. Because we stood. Because we did not give in, and because the future now belongs to those who fight, not those who cower. The crew nodded, silent respect in their eyes. They had faced monsters from the edges of the galaxy, fought impossible odds, and survived. Their courage had changed everything. The comms officer spoke up, voice trembling. Sir, new transmissions, unknown ships, watching us from the edge of the system. They are silent, observing. The captain's eyes narrowed. Let them watch. Let the galaxy see what humans are capable of. We are no longer just survivors. We are warriors. And anyone who underestimates us will learn that lesson the hard way. For a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Stars glimmered, wreckage floated in silence, and the human fleet, battered but unbroken, remained at the center of it all. The alien survivors whispered among themselves. Humans, they are not just saviors. They are something else. They are warriors, stronger than anything we imagined. The captain looked out at the horizon, voice soft but full of certainty. This is only the beginning. We will rebuild, we will grow stronger, and we will protect every life that calls for help, no matter how impossible the odds. The human fleet, though battered and weary, moved as one. The galaxy had seen humanity's courage, and the universe would never forget it. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the stars, watchers whispered in awe and fear. The humans had faced the Deathworlders and survived. The humans had stood. Humans had declared war. And now, the stars themselves seemed to acknowledge that a new force had risen. Humanity would never back down.